hands of our capable city clerk, Ms. Lisa Carroll.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Wednesday, November the 12th.
Okay,
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on November 22nd from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. in Tricentennial Park.
No issues.
December the 13th from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. on Airport Boulevard.
Councilwoman Ingram.
It's the new,
I believe it's 5. Is that the second one?
it's the new, yeah.
Yeah, no issues.
No.
No,
Nope.
it's the new District 2
Yeah,
now.
it's
Yeah.
District 2, yeah.
No, it says
No.
new District 2.
Oh, I see.
They gave us a lot of information on that one. No issues, sir.
Okay,
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to consider the application of Acadian Ambulance Service for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate an ambulance service. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reverend Bradley will introduce himself as the new president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Marion Dias wants to request the council endorse and help promote the establishment of a prayer service on New Year's Day at Waterfront Park. Reggie Hill offering recommendations for blight-related matters, findings from the Committee of the Whole, and inquire on the precedent of agenda item sponsorships. Ordinances held over. 52046, adopt Chapter 52, Real Property Maintenance and Enforcement, Article 8.
Ms. Reynolds.
I have an amendment that I'll offer up today, which reflects the items that we discussed in the committee meeting, and it matches the additional amendments that the administration put forward, with the exception of those paragraphs that say that it is the duty or burden of the property owners to self-report. My amendment has removed those paragraphs, and I've got a copy for everybody of the final clean version here.
Any questions, council? Vice President.
Just want to make sure with these amendments, before we go forward, that this is something that everybody is on board with. I know there was some discussion between the administration and with Councilman Reynolds as to whether it should be the property owner's responsibility or the city's. So I know we've got this amendment in front of us, and I see Ricardo standing there, so I'm assuming you're going to give us your response.
No, good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. So, of course, the other amendments are fine. We just asked that you add the additional amendment of restoring what we talked about when we talked about making it the duty of the property owner. That amendment is probably the most important amendment that we could have. And then, interesting enough, it's not an amendment because what's before you is already there. So I'd ask that you make the amendments for clarity, make the amendments that Councilman Reynolds is talking about, but do not amend that section and just leave it as it currently sits on your agenda. And that's specifically 52201, the purpose, subsection D, ask that you leave that in. And then also the one that's on the following page that requires the property owner to go through. And we've gone over those issues. I won't re-bore you with the details, but that's the way to make it effective. If you remove that section, you will ultimately be creating a toothless tiger, gutting the ordinance, and we will not have the resources to be able to enforce it. So thank you for that opportunity.
Council.
I'll offer this up as a replacement rather than just an amendment. I'll just offer that this one be replaced, that this replace the one that's currently on the agenda.
Okay.
So that one is which one then, Ben?
The one that's I've distributed to everybody is the one that I would like to amend. And if I have to offer it as amendment, I will. Okay. I'll offer it as amendment. So I don't think we're going to come to terms with that particular segment of this ordinance. It doesn't seem like there's any give or take on this one. And I frankly don't believe that this creates a toothless tiger. It just creates a burden for the government rather than every single property owner that's in downtown Mobile. That's all. That's the only difference is the government would have to go out and identify those buildings up there. They already know that we've seen the fire department even identify them, and they're already annually going around and checking these properties. They identify them as being vacant, then they give them notice to say, we believe this to be vacant. You have 30 days to explain to us if it's vacant or not, or maybe you meet some exemption, rather than just saying everybody in downtown Mobile within the Henry Aaron Loop must put forward or must self-identify that either they're vacant or not, or they meet some exemption. It just seems like an unnecessary burden to place on, especially property owners who think they're doing right. You know, they're not paying attention to everything on this ordinance like we are. And they have this duty that they're not aware of that they have, that they were supposed to self-identify and put themselves on a registry. They're already keeping up with enough in downtown Mobile. This is just one additional burden that's really unnecessary. And I really see no purpose other than it makes it easier for the government. That's the only purpose that it sounds like to me. It's just easier for the government to do it this way versus the way that I suggest.
Vice President.
Okay, so just so that we're all on the same page, so your amendment then is what you've just described, and it does include that 52-201, correct?
My amendment does include 52-201, but
Yeah.
only paragraphs A, B, and C, not A, B, C, and D. We've struck D
Yeah.
out of 52-201, and then additionally, we struck another section that dealt specifically with the registration, and that is section 52-203, item A.
So excuse me, sorry, Candace. So two things. One, I would ask if we think about this, think all the way through. What we do here is really important today. We've accepted in 9 out of 10 of the amendments. Actually, the conversation is better. And the conversation is better, but the ordinance is better because of this conversation. Actually, with no pushback on the other changes. And I think Councilman Reynolds would agree that we accepted those fully because they are good changes, make the ordinance stronger. The subsections that we're asking that you not remove also keeps the ordinance strong. And it does two things. Councilman Reynolds is right. It does shift the burden. It's not just to make it easier, because we're opposed to just making it easier for the employees. It makes it enforceable, but it also makes it better for our citizens who've been looking at these dilapidated buildings for quite some time. When you talk about the burden, all you're doing is asking the responsible owners to step up and protect from fire, but you're asking the irresponsible people to say, instead of us trying to knock on your door and forcing our way inside, which we can't do, the onus is on you directly. And so it's no different than many of our other ordinances. Like, you have a duty not to speed, right? You have a duty to stop at stoplights. You've got a duty not to put litter out. And so that's what we're saying is, look, if you do those things, if you have this vacant building, and you're not taking care of your property, you're not being a good owner or a good neighbor, as I think Councilman Reynolds so aptly stated, then we get to come in and say, hey, there's a mechanism for enforcement, and we get to you before we ever go through the court system. And if you're a really bad actor, then we do go to the court system. And so
I'd like to just make one comment. if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Hold on for 1 second. Reynolds, let Woods
Yeah.
finish.
I'm sorry.
and so I would say, if you've actually been out on these inspections and actually seen what our people do, then it's a little bit more pertinent to how we do the things. The ordinance is good as written, especially with the amendments all but say gutting it and taking D and the duty issues out. And then there's another issue, that duty on the city, and we talked about that. That's not something that we necessarily want to put on our employees and put that onus on them. It's not the best way to construct this for operational purposes and legal ones as well.
Hold on 1 second, Reynolds. Councilwoman Ingram and Councilman Fleming, are y'all understanding this? Just need a quick yes or no. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I understand both sides.
Yes.
Fleming, okay. Reynolds,
I just want to address this point of this duty, that you do have a duty to stop at a stop sign, or you have a duty to, do these many things. This doesn't, that's not what this gets to. This is saying you have a duty to contact the government and let them know that you ran a stop sign, or you have a duty to contact the government and let them know that you threw out a bag of trash and litter. And that's what this is creating, or you have a duty to contact the government and let them know that your grass is now over 10 inches tall and they need to come out, do something about it. I mean, that's different than saying that we have a duty to follow laws. This is saying you have a duty to self-enforce and for self-impose, yourself to this registry. There's a substantial distinction between that, in my opinion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Woods, can you answer this throughout this process of self-reporting? How would that look? What's the time frame? How is this a lot of work to do for a person to self-report? Is this going to be challenging? Like, what is the process?
No. What you do is you fill out the form and you send it in to the city, and that doesn't start for another 6 months. So we'll have an education campaign to let people know. Not dissimilar from paying your revenue taxes or your revenue license, or getting a business license, or say, for instance, on a regular basis, paying us your taxes. That's more akin to what we're talking about. And so you would fill out the form, and we don't know that these 140 are vacant. We just assume. And we'd like to take those assumptions out of it and be able to know for certain. And if people don't comply, then to at least be able to say, hey, we have a mechanism. Because without this, what we're doing is we're trying to track down all of these people, and we're going through those 8 different steps that I laid out in my email. I mean, that's not speculation. That's what we know from doing what we've done with other property maintenance issues for the last 12 years. And so this was not taken lightly. We don't ask for these things lightly. We want to make sure that people are responsible, and we also want to make sure that this is effective. That's the key, is we want to make sure that it is effective.
Have we thought about getting this information out? I hear Councilman Reynolds' point of maybe they don't know. Are we thinking about, okay, if it was to go through and was approved, are we going to send mailers to the business? What is the guidelines of making sure everybody know exactly what's going on?
Not only will we look to send mailers, because you got to know who's who, but we're going to need you all's help to send out information in your newsletters. We're going to need to have a public information campaign, that also lets people know this is what's happening. You would talk to the Downtown Mobile Alliance and get it out to all of the people who are in the bid. And so all of those things are things that we want to do. We don't want to surprise anybody. We don't want appeals. The whole purpose is compliance. We'd rather not have anybody appealing to David, which is a safety mechanism, and then necessarily appealing to you all about this. But if they do, we offer them due process.
Okay.
And I've not seen this body or the previous bodies ever ignore those asks from people in the last decade.
I see we have Fred back there, president of Downtown Alliance. I'm just a question from you, by working with different business owners, do you think this would be a challenge to business owners to self-report?
If the application process is as easy as it should be, then I don't think it would be a problem to self-report. No.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Thank you, Fred. I definitely, this has kind of turned into a little bit like the garbage ordinance that the ordinance that just kept coming back and back. So now that we've gotten to this point here, I definitely see Mr. Reynolds' point, but just that kind of some clarification, Mr. Woods. Right now, as it sits, obviously we've, this ordinance has kind of spelled out what a vacant structure is. A continuous period of 6 months, lawful occupancy by person, yada, yada, yada. Then we go to B, for the purpose of this definition, not really, and it kind of sums up, not occupied, and there's no certificate of occupancy. The way it sits, just kind of, I guess, 2 sides of the coin here for Mr. Reynolds' amendment, and then also for what you have presented. Basically the self reporting mechanism, that's going to be defined as a vacant structure, basically 6 months. As it sits today, we keep talking about the 140. As it sits today, there's really no way we can tell in reality that a structure is vacant, right? It could be boarded up. It could be used for some sort of thing, but basically we can't, the city can't cross that threshold and go see if it's truly vacant, I guess.
That's correct. That is 100% correct.
So if we do put, this is a required thing that we're gonna put, employee 1, employee 2 to go around, drive around, go walk around downtown and try to determine what's vacant or not. We really can't, from the city standpoint, we really can't tell if it's vacant. I mean, for the lack of it, we really have to let somebody open the door for us, and then we have to determine whether or not, has it really truly been occupied for 6 months? I guess we could always look at certificate of occupancy, but I mean, for really, even if we put employee 1, employee 2, basically they're just going to be walking around downtown looking at board buildings, not really being able to tell whether or not it truly is vacant.
Right, and that's what we do now.
Okay. So I guess with that being said, that we're really, and tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Reynolds, we're really we're going to be putting resources for something that really we can't enforce really because of property rights in the state anyways. That's where I kind of see is that we're going to be putting resources towards somebody. Really, in reality, we really can't tell what's vacant or not. We're going to really have to rely on them anyways to at least open the door, let us in, or self-report and say I'm vacant. So I kind of just see a duplication a little bit of putting that mechanism in there. I personally, and I'll end with this, personally, I think that this is a good start. I think it's probably gonna be trial and error because I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people are going to register their properties because downtown there's groups of people. So I don't have a whole lot of faith they're going to do it. That's just me personally, but I think we'll have to revisit this potentially in the next 24 months and try to find some more teeth because I don't know if I don't know if the city's going to be able to do that. That's just me personally.
I'll square that up with you, as far as this expending resources that we wouldn't otherwise have to expend towards an end where, but you have to cross the threshold to find out. But this still creates that same opportunity that if there is somebody who's not registered, okay, or not responding to the mail that the city has sent or the notice that they placed on the door, whether they have to self-register or not, that burden still exists in this. They'll still have to do it. And the standard of having to cross the threshold and go in there and look around and say, yeah, there's nothing, this is not occupied. That's not the only standard of determining if something's vacant. Currently, we heard in our committee meeting that there are tremendous amounts of tools that municipal enforcement use, such as certificates of occupancy, business licenses. If there's power, they get stuff from the power company. If there's power been on, they can do that right now. And so somebody having to self-report is not going to change that whatsoever. And if it's observed to be vacant or there is no contact, the municipal enforcement, this is according to mine, municipal enforcement placed that notice. That person does not respond in that 30 days. Municipal enforcement now has the same exact tools that they would have otherwise. Same exact tool where they can go through the court process, which they would have to do in this other scenario as well. This person didn't self-report. Now they got to go get right of entry. So you're still at the same exact point, except for really the distinction is the good property owners are not going to have to be mindful and remember. And this ad campaign that's been talked about, you do that ad campaign, maybe that puts it on the top of everybody's mind for 6 months or to a year. This law don't go away after 6 months to a year. This law is here forever until this body changes that law. So what about 10 years from now? Everybody who buys a property and what are they given a packet and say, welcome to downtown Mobile. Oh, by the way, here you are. You got to self-register if you're ever vacant. And that's not going to happen. So I think if there is a starting point, and I think the burden should be on the government to come back to us at some point if they find that it is insufficient. I think the starting point is the least amount of burden for the good property owners and everybody. And then if they find that it's ineffective in some way, shape, or form, using the many tools that they already have, they should come back to this body and say, we're finding it a little too arduous. We'd like for some revision down the road. So if we're going to do a test case or try it out, I think we try it with mine rather than theirs, because it's always harder. I mean, we all know it. Once a tax is put in, it's hard to get that thing rolled back. I think we ought to start at the least amount of burden and then allow them to come back to us if they find they need additional tools.
So, Mr. President, I want to point out two things. One is, I'd like to think of the version of the ordinance that we're talking about as ours, not mine or yours, because you made substantial contributions that made it better. The other thing I want to point out is, we could have just sat here and let it be amended improperly and then say, hey, the version that we want is in place. That would not be an honest, transparent discussion. I say that to say, look at the number of citizens who are in favor of this, and look at the number of citizens who've shown up to speak against it. That's a really important factor here. And so this wasn't born out of just someone's idea. There were a lot of steps that got taken by the staff and our collaborative outside partners to talk about what was the best and the least restrictive. One of the things about this is it does give the city the tools. The version we're talking about that leaves Section D in gives the cities the tools to do what the citizens have been asking for quite some time. And without it, what we're doing is there's not just one hoop to jump through, there are 8, because you have to find out who the people are. You've got to track them down. You got to give them notice. You got to try to get access. And the only way you can get access without this tool, right, is 1, voluntary compliance, which the bad actors are not going to do. 2, we get a court order, a warrant. No judge is ever signing that. And then 3, exigent circumstances, which means that the building is already on fire when MFRD goes inside. And so I want to point out that this is as much an economic development tool, but more so a public safety issue when you go back to why you're looking at the Hoffman building situation and other ones like that and what happened in Birmingham and what's occurred in other cities when you talk about large scale fires. So that is the rationale for being able to do this, force compliance, to be a good neighbor, to be a better actor. And we fully accept 9 out of 10 of Mr. Reynolds' amendments. We just ask that you not make that last one and gut the ordinance and make it a toothless tiger.
Councilwoman Ingram.
Again, I want to thank the administration for where we are in moving this forward. But I do want to address the fact that we are going to have residents, the properties where they are good people. They're going to do what they're supposed to do, right? They're going to follow through on the registration. My question for you, we know that there are going to be a percentage of them that will not. Again, that's going to create challenges for us in terms if we don't have the resources to ensure that that percentage, that small percentage that fails to comply. Is there an opportunity that we could look at an additional resource so that we can ensure that we don't have that concern of the group that's going to do what they're supposed to do as opposed to the group that's not going to comply, and we know who they are?
Yes. The short answer to your question is yes. And here's why. 1, the funding that goes back in here can be used for enforcement, dealing with bad actors. 2, this shrinks the burden because most people do comply, and it's designed that way. The ordinance is designed that way. It's designed on all of the things that we learned going through blight remediation with the I-team and David Doffenbach's team some years ago. So looking at most of the people who comply, we'll work in tandem with the fire department. Municipal enforcement work in tandem with the fire department to go out and double those resources. And so this is a quarterly focus. But once most of your people come in and comply, then you're able to focus on the bad actors. So you're, rather than focusing on the entire perceived 140, you're only focusing on a percentage of the people. And it'll take some time. Remember, they get 6 months to go up. And then if they're building or constructing or negotiating the lease, they get another, 6 months. Nobody comes knocking at their door on day 1. So it will take some time. And that time will give us additional space to spread the resources. Some people are going to comply right away. And I think Councilman Woods might have a point. It won't be as widespread at first, but once we start going in and looking at who the bad actors are, I want to bring up a last point because Councilwoman Ingram, in saying that, you jogged my memory. One of the reasons that we want blanket enforcement and asking everyone to comply is so that it does not look like, feel like, or sound like we're targeting any one owner, right? That's another thing. And the city has been accused of that. And I've had to defend those lawsuits in the past, and we were able to win. But I don't want any citizen or owner to believe that they are being specifically targeted by the city at any given point. So if the application is the same for everyone, if the compliance is the same for everyone, then we're able to focus on the people who are not compliant, and we have a bright red line of who's doing what and who's not. That's really important for the city to act fairly.
As a follow-up, so I'm hearing you to say that the additional resources will be there for the bad actors that we know are not going to comply, so that we do not create a culture where the good guys are always doing what they're supposed to and the other ones are continuing not to comply.
That is a yes. That is a yes. Not only will we have the tools to do so, the people to do so, but once people start paying in, we can use that additional money to move up or down if we need to. And remember, it's a quarterly process. It's not every day, all the time. It is a quarterly process, and it will take some time.
All right, Councilwoman Ingram, are you comfortable voting for this today?
I would like to have the final version, like, which version we're going to go with. And so if we can agree to hold off and get the final version that we know that's on here, I'm comfortable with that.
Vice President?
Yeah, I think we need to look at the amendments that Councilman Reynolds is offering, which of those we can get the 5 votes for in order to move forward today. If we can get
So that's easy enough.
John and Ricardo together to give us a final version. that
I'll tell
we
you.
can vote
I'm
on.
going to go ahead and show you the 2 different versions. Okay?
Just happen to have it.
Yeah, look at that. Thanks, Mr. Reynolds. So the one in my right hand is the version that we're talking about.
That includes that section.
That includes that subsection D and the appropriate changes. Mr. Reynolds, through his diligent efforts, has removed subsection D, the one in my left hand. And that is, the difference you can see looking at them side by side. And I think we actually have those highlighted. And so it's as simple as Mr. Reynolds laid out. All of the changes are the same. We agree on 90% of those changes. And then that one is the 2 different sections where the duty is placed on the owner versus placing the duty on the city, which, look, as much as me and my law firm would love to continue to aid the city in defending against lawsuits, we don't need any more work. We don't want to add that.
Yeah, council, let's hold this off for another week. Let's get those changes. I don't want to rush because, again, Councilwoman Ingram, this is her district. She represented. People going to hit her first, and also want to give Mr. Fleming enough time. I recommend that we hold this over for 1 week, a minimal. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Mr. President, I can easily take the time in between the 2 meetings if you'd like.
We already at 10:30. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask the question. Councilwoman Ingram and Fleming, are y'all comfortable in voting for this today or not?
With the changes that,
With the change.
Amendment? You said?
Yeah.
with the changes that
With the
Mr. Woods is.
I'm comfortable.
Okay. All right. Fleming.
I am too.
Okay. All right. Well, we got 2 amendments before us at 11 o'clock. We'll just vote it up and down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. I'll offer them.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Thank y'all. Let's move on. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 64057, consider the modification of a previously approved plan unit development for property located at 600, 700, and 800 West I-65 Service Road South. CIP resolutions held over 21-14-15, authorized contract and task order 1 with Volkert for design and engineering of Perch Creek Preserve.
Is Jennifer Green present this morning? Hey, if you can just give us a short segment of how great this project is for the city of Mobile. It's actually in District 3, but this is a great recreation for the city. And I'm not too sure the council really know what's in front of us right now.
Sure, thank you so much. So this is a park project that's on the peninsula. There's 3 properties that the city purchased: the Zybeck Water Treatment Plant property, which we've stabilized and demolished, so that's ready to be built on, and also the Perch Creek Preserve, which is 100 acres that fronts Perch Creek. It's about 200 acres of waterfront property, almost 5 miles of bayfront and creek property. So it's a really great amenity for that area. This is going to be a passive recreation park. A master plan was completed in 2019. This project is going to start with relooking at the master plan and community engagement meetings and move through to have 100% shovel-ready construction plans.
Giving our citizens more access to water. So it's a great project.
Yeah,
Ms.
Mr. President, I'd
Mr.
just
Reynolds.
like to say, great job. I'm glad this is happening. I think South DIP and the whole Dog River area is going to benefit substantially for these.
Yeah, the city will be, thanks to Jane Green. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Consent resolutions held over 371398. Recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a lounge retail liquor class 1 license for Flipside Bar and Patio on Conception Street, South Conception Street.
Are you good, Councilwoman Green?
I am.
Okay.
Resolutions held over 01409. Authorize amendment to agreement with Evonic Corporation. 081411. Approve purchase order to Interface Americas. 211413. Authorized contract with Inline LLC. 211414. Authorized contract with United Methodist Inner-City Mission of Mobile, Inc.
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
We were told last week there was going to be an accompanying budget amendment for this one. This is not a budgeted performance contract, so I think a budget amendment is required for this. Yeah, it's zeroed out in our performance contracts on our budget currently.
Let me get you an answer before, but you may need to hold this over.
All right, well, just go ahead and go ahead and hold it up for a week.
Consent resolutions being introduced 031416 and 1417 are appointing and reappointing Jerry Williams to the Human Relations Commission and Jeremy Milling to the Board of Adjustment. 311418 authorize the mayor to apply, accept, and receive a grant from the Alabama Department of Transportation for Airbus Distribution Center Industrial Access Project, $3,631,500, no match required. 371419 recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license to Red Moon Restaurant and Hookah Bar on N Road. 461420 honorarily renamed Victor Road to honorary Shirley Thomas Road. 581421 declare weeds noxious weed lien group 1672. 581422 and 1422 assess cost removal of weeds groups 1664 and 1667. 60, 1424 and 1425 are approving award of special bonus to Municipal Archives Employee of the Month and the Events Department Employee of the Month. 60, 1426 through 1430 are determined appropriations to Trinity Gardens Community Civic Club, Mobile County Public School System Division of Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, Revitalize DIP, Feeding the Gulf Coast, serve a public purpose, and approving payment. CIP resolutions being introduced, 081431, approve purchase order to Game Time for new playground equipment for Lavretta Park, $649,921.69. 211432. Oh, did you want to be a sponsor on that? Okay. 211432, authorized contract with Persons Services Corp. For Figures Park Community Center, mechanical improvements, $461,000.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
just want to let the community know, I know this sometimes don't sound like something attractive, but it's needed. This is important for our mechanical improvements. So we're going to replace the air handling units, the refrigeration piping, boiler, hot water piping. So these are the things that need to get done to keep making sure that we have a great community center. Thank you, Mr. President.
211433, authorized contract with Rogers and Wheeler for Taylor Park Community Center improvements, $6,075,365.
Well, Councilman Penn, this is very attractive right here, brand new building.
Well, I'm going to have to get on that very attractive bandwagon. I didn't say anything about the Loretto playground equipment, but that's really attractive to me.
The 6 million is more attractive than the couple 100,000.
Well, you're right. Yours is more expensive. Just means you're an expensive date.
Mr. President,
Ms. Penn.
I love what Attorney Wood said. We all represent the city of Mobile, so it's a great project in the city of Mobile. Thank you.
211445, authorized contract with Gorham Air Conditioning for Spring Hill Recreation Center, $1,190. Resolutions being introduced, 011434, authorized agreement for transfer of right-of-way from Alabama Department of Transportation to the city for additional lanes on Ziegler Boulevard. 011435, authorized memorandum of understanding between the U.S. Department of Justice, United States Marshal Service, and the City of Mobile Police Department.
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods?
Real quick, I know we're running against time, but can we get just a quick explanation, I guess, what this is, as far as, the partnership with feds and local?
Absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is actually a standard document, MOU, between local and federal law enforcement. We have members of our department that are part of a task force. So we're just in keeping with the tradition of working alongside our federal partners, making sure that we are involved in anything that's happening in the city.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
081436, approved purchase order to Iron Bow Technologies for 1 year cybersecurity protection service package, $83,826.29. 081437, approved purchase order to Sunbelt Fire for 4 sets of fire turnout coat and pants, $16,060. 081438, approved purchase order to Toomey's Mardi Gras Candy Company for moon pies and beads for 2026 Mardi Gras, $21,227.50. 211439, authorized contract with AACRC, doing business as ARC Animal Clinic and Rehab Center for professional veterinary services, $200,000. 211440, authorized contract with AG Witt LLC to provide professional services for the Office of Resilience, $500,000 per year. 211441, authorized contract with C4 Capital LLC, doing business as C4 Bills for professional consulting services, $102,000. 211442, authorized contract with Diversified Maintenance for janitorial service at the National Maritime Museum of the Gulf, $142,536. 211443, authorized contract with Dorsey & Dorsey Engineering for 2026 CIP resurfacing District 6, $315,000. 211444, authorized contract with DVMIMS, doing business at Tillman's Corner Veterinary Hospital for professional veterinary services, $200,000. 211446, authorized contract with licensing and implementation for video management system for security cameras, $1,500,000. 211447, authorized contract with Sawgrass Consulting for 2026 CIP resurfacing, Council Districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. 311448, authorized the mayor to apply, accept, and receive a grant from the Federal Transit Administration for federal transportation assistance. 371449, consider the application of Acadian Ambulance Service for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate an ambulance service.
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods?
And I don't want to beleaguer the point or beat a dead horse here, but prior conversations, obviously, public hearings came up and we talked about it there. I know that we have a BLS process that we're exploring, and I believe an RFP was sent out. Just, can we get some clarification on where we are on the RFP process? Because I do believe adding another ambulance service, I think that would be part of the overarching conversation.
Good morning. So currently we are redesigning the RFP process. There were some questions that came up, so that has been delayed. We look to hopefully have that within the next 2 or 3 weeks completed and ready to go back out.
What's the time frame on that RFP? Is it like a 60-day RFP, 30-day?
It
Two-
should
two-day?
be, it should be less than 30 days, I believe.
So probably just with the RFP process, once you walk through that, and then, and again, the RFP process is to, from my understanding, potentially partner with a company to take care of all BLS calls, I guess is my understanding.
That is correct.
So that being said, that would kind of change what the environment or what it looks like for our ambulance services in the city.
Correct.
That being said, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days for the RFP to go out, probably arrive at a decision within 60 days potentially, or a recommendation coming before us for that.
That is correct. We hope just after the first of the year that this would, middle of January, we hope to have this awarded.
Gotcha. Alrighty, just looking for some context there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
03, 1450, and 1451 are appointing Curtis Graves as Executive Director of Public Safety and appoint Barry Glisson as Chief of the Mobile Fire and Rescue Department.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
I'd like to go back to 21-1447, resurfacing on the roads. We recently just had a project, Highway 45. If you had the chance, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I was so excited about driving down the street. That's an area I grew up in my community. But then I was upset the other day. I was really upset because I'm riding down Highway 45. The engineering department did an amazing job. I mean, we got sidewalks, curb and gutter, it's repaved, and now the street is being cut. And I got patches going all the way down in my district. 5 patches on both sides from malls, from cutting in the road. We just repaved the road, and now the street is already being cut. I want to know, going forward with these resurfacing projects, what can we put in place to make sure that we coordinate and they do these projects before cutting our beautiful streets up?
We do share these maps with malls and the different utilities, and I don't know exactly what's going on with those patches that you're talking about, but we'll get into it. And there's a permitting process for when they do cut in the street. It's been recently resurfaced. There's an additional fee, and they're going to have to come back in and just not leave that one particular patch. They're going to have to resurface. If it exceeds a certain percentage, then they're going to have to resurface the whole block.
So if so they potentially will have to come back and resurface.
Yes.
Okay. And is that something that we have in documentation? Is this a conversation that we said, but it's officially that
it's an ordinance. It's a right-of-way ordinance.
Right away? Okay. Do we have a time frame on that? A time frame of how?
No,
soon?
it just, I'll have to get into it, and it may be an emergency patch that you're speaking of. And,
Okay.
and there's a process for, allow for proper compaction of the roadway. Make sure we get the test reports, we communicate with malls. And on this particular contract, like Ben's district, there's a project going on at Crestview subdivision that we're going to delay the resurfacing of those streets to allow them to go in there and replace a lot of water lines and sewer lines. And then when they complete their improvements, we'll come back in and resurface the streets. And so hopefully there won't be any patches in that particular case.
Okay.
But malls is aware of these programs well in advance.
Okay. Well, I request, could you get that information and see how soon or how long it would take, or are they planning to resurface? Because the community was really excited about this project. And
I agree. That's the last thing we want to see.
Yeah.
Newly, resurfaced street, and there's already cuts. That's upsetting.
Yeah. So if I request, if you can get the information just where I can share with my community, so they will feel good knowing that this is going to be completed, and just what that time frame looks like.
Yeah, I'll get some more details on it, you know.
Okay. Appreciate it, John.
Madam Clerk.
Announcements.
Council. Anything, council?
Okay, I need to do them.
Vice Chair.
For waiving the rules, looking through. Yeah, CIP 211445. And then resolutions 08-1437 and 1438 look to be the only ones. Yeah. Unless y'all see anything else you'd like to.
Yes.
Speak up my resurfacing.
No, you got to wait like the rest of us. All right. Anything else from this council? Anything from the administration? All right, we'll see each other in about 13 minutes downstairs.
Yeah. Maybe a little late.